What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video, another day, another dollar. We're going to be looking at the ES Mini and the SP 500 futures contract. Excuse my clicking. I should probably stop that. Anyway, we're going to be looking at our 30-minute. Going to try to go over that really quickly. I did not make a video yesterday. I took only one trade yesterday and one trade only. Came in. I made a little bit of money. But yesterday was an inside day, and I tried to stay out of those days. I was fairly busy throughout the evening, so I didn't have time to really make a video yesterday. But we went out yesterday with the high, the low, and made an 11Y point of control right there at 27.25. Today we opened up just at the day's low from the previous day and pushed directly down, getting the overnight session low pretty quickly, and then starting to dip our toe into the gap and then taking out what we had as our balance low for our daily time frame. So I will be calling the daily down. However, it was kind of a failed attempt. If tomorrow we take out today's high, then we'll most likely just be stretching the balance low by just a hair. But you can see how we dipped our toe into after getting the overnight session low here. If you look at the right hand corner on my 15-minute chart, you can see how we got that 15-minute low rather early on in the morning, stretched below it, but didn't quite do a whole lot with it. So let's zoom this thing in here. And you can see how after taking out, in A and in B period, we pushed lower. We took out that low of day and then started to dip our toe into the gap, started to fill it in just a hair more. It looked like all the algorithms and the short-term traders wanted to do at the time was get that 11Y point of control back from 7.5 or July 5th of this year at 44.8375. So after attempting to slowly, not in the best fashion, trend lower, getting that 11Y point of control, we kind of consolidated here, right? We got a little bit of a two-sided trade going on. This is where I made some of my money, was shorting on these pushes up. I was kind of not expecting us to go and take out the day's high, but clearly something was starting to change, especially once we got above VWAP here on my 1-minute chart. I could see that we kept getting below it, but kept dipping our head back above it. And, originally that's where I was shorting, was above VWAP the first few times to come back down into the 144 simple moving average, or rather to come back into what we had at the time, which was our Y point of control at 92.25. We had multiple time frames trade back and forth through that 92 area, and it aligned with where the 144 simple moving average was. So the first time up, I shorted 98, 97. It rolled over, made money on that. Second time up there, in this time frame, I shorted once again around the 98 to 500 level. It rolled back in just enough for me to get out of the trade for a pretty good profit. And then once we took out that high here at 45.0375 and we were starting to move pretty good above VWAP right here, I was like, you know what? There's nothing here for me. I was comfortable shorting. Now I don't know what this market wants to do. Let's see if we begin to continue to find acceptance back into the previous day's range, right? Started to push our way back into that range and grind towards that 11Y point of control at 45.2725. So after taking a few shorts early on and, kind of fighting these weak-handed sellers here that were just obviously getting, if anybody that was shorting near the low, they were obviously beginning to hurt on this grind higher. So they began to stop out of their positions. Momentum buyers step into this market as we get above VWAP and above half back, and we continue to grind near the highs. And then once we take out the high, the Three Stooges do their thing. Curly, Larry, and Moe, they just push this thing up, almost getting back to 45.2725, which is that 11Y point of control, which is our upside destination for tomorrow, beyond today's high day at 45.2225. So rather tricky day to trade. I am happy that I was able to come out with profit on the day. If we look here, $763.80, or just rather roughly 100 plus points in the MES, which is what I've been trading with, and have finally started to find some type of success trading with 5 to around 30 lots of the MES, which, you know, roughly equates to like almost 3 full minis. So been finding pretty good success with that. Being able to scale in with the MES has definitely helped out. Let's go ahead and mark some destinations here. We still have a gap to fill. We didn't quite get to it. 44.7850 is where that gap filled. Today's low of day was 44.82. You know, just a couple points or ticks below that 11 wide point of control. That's why you kind of want to have things like this in your on your chart, right? I guarantee you people were shorting down here thinking this gap was going to fill, not seeing that we had gotten that 11 wide point of control and we're beginning to hold where that 11 wide point of control was. So if you didn't know that, you were probably shorting in the hole here thinking this thing was going to go down and fill the gap, which you technically weren't wrong to short. You were just wrong to short near the lows versus on the rotation up to come back down near the low, right? You don't want to be someone who sells when everyone is buying, right? You want to be someone who is selling when everyone else is selling, right? Kind of just makes sense. But let's go ahead and mark these destinations. Also, my mouse has been acting up, has not been wanting to work for me. We're going to move this down to 44.82. 44.82 is now today's low of day and where the gap starts. And it fills at 44.78. We do not have a wide enough point of control. No afternoon pullback low. I will make note of this 95 area. I will mark this 95 area as that will be kind of like a line in the sand. It's where change kind of took place today. Was right around this 95 area, which was these two lows. We couldn't get back down to point of control, which is at 92. So buyers were clearly stepping in there. So we'll make, we'll say change took place, because I don't know what else to call it. It's not technically an afternoon pullback low. And we'll just highlight that, you know, for something to potentially pull back and lean against in the future. So change took place there at 95. We'll want to mark, I wouldn't lean against it, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it if we were to pull back into that area. Then we have today's high of day up here at 22.25. 22.25. Today's high of day. Boom. There we go. So some scenarios. If we open above this 95 area here, right? If we open above this area and take out today's high, next destination is 27.25 and 11 wide point of control. We would be putting ourselves back into a balance, and we would have just said that today we stretched the balance, even though we took it out by roughly 10 points. We could just say that we stretched the balance low, which is a possibility, right? Because we got down there and didn't find much of extension below what we had initially as our balance low. So not much extension or tempo. So this could have possibly been an event where we, one of the rules of a balance is to get near low and stretch it, get near it and take it out and continue to push through it. We didn't really see any follow through today. So if we open above 95 and take out today's high, we will put ourselves back into just a relatively large balance. And I'll most likely include, we'll initially say that maybe it's a 4-day balance using this 60.75 as the high of that balance. We'll discuss more on that tomorrow. So if we begin to grind up higher, 39.75 is your next destination, and then 45.60.75 high of day from August 4th will be the next destination. All right, let's go ahead and look at our daily and our weekly time frames. That way you kind of understand a little bit more as to what I'm talking about here. So our weekly balance I have marked here. There's our weekly balance. And you can see as of right now, we took it out, but we've just stretched it. Especially from a weekly standpoint, you can give it a little bit more leeway, right? We have a lot of time. So if by the end of this week, we end up closing back inside of last week's range and not stretching this any further, we're going to say that the weekly balance just got stretched by a hair. All right. And then your next destination would be to rotate back up to 46.3350. All right. So if we end up closing this week out, or towards the end of this week, look like we're closing inside of this range here, then we'll most likely have just stretched the balance. But it's still early on in the week. Let's see what the rest of this week has ahead of us, and kind of trade what the market gives us. Hopefully, it gives us something good to see. This is the 4th day we've closed below the 20-day moving average. That 50-day moving average is creeping up, and I was curious to know if that was going to come into play here. And as we've gotten close to it, maybe that's kind of why you start to see some buying step into it, right? If this thing continues to creep up just where the single prints fill, I could see us potentially filling that single print and then bouncing really aggressively. I can also see us bouncing aggressively here at the bottom of our balance, as it looks like we might have just stretched it. You can see here by the gap that we have, we've dipped our toe into it. We haven't quite filled it all the way. So the question I posed last week was, which gap gets filled first? Is it the upside gap or the downside gap? We've gotten very close to filling this downside gap. We only have a couple more points. Do we come in, fill in the rest of that poor structure, and then bounce? It's a good possibility. Retest of the 20-day moving average, which would be our balance high, get above that, and then it's clear skies above, right? That's kind of what we're looking for. You always want to be looking ahead and kind of gauging scenarios. But right now, the most likely scenario, considering that we continue to set lower highs and lower lows, is that this market could potentially push lower and take out or test the 50-day moving average, which is creeping up and should be around the 44.60 level soon, right? If not, then we take out today's high, put ourselves back into a balance, and then just say that we've stretched our balance low by a couple of points. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out here trading the market, keep your hard hats on. There's a lot coming. I believe we have data coming in this week, tomorrow. So let's see what comes in. Let's see how the market reacts, as this market has been very data driven recently, and just wear your hard hats out here, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Thanks again for everyone that comes through and supports the channel. If you're new, hopefully you like the video, like the structure. If not, then hopefully you've learned something at the very least, or have piqued your interest into learning something new, such as market profile. We'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.